Hello again, everybody. This is Jersey Joe. This is going to be the postseason slash 2017-2018 season wrap up for the New Jersey Devils. So I highlighted 4 different topics for this episode today. The Sports Business Journal down from the Carolinas posts on Twitter that there was a couple of gainers in the year-over-year TV and ratings. See how things have gone up and down. Fluctuation. So the biggest gainers were the Nashville Predators by 163%, the Colorado Avalanche at plus 88, the New Jersey Devils spiked up by 50% year over year, and the New York Islanders apparently were plus 21%. So I can explain the Nashville Predators one. It's kind of obvious. Last year they were the runner-up to the Stanley Cup champion Pittsburgh Penguins. And you have guys like Roman Josi, Kevin Fiala, who were one of the leaders on the team last year, along with PK Subban. So that was something that excited a lot of Predators fans going into this season, especially now with the postseason being, Nashville is likely going to be in a dogfight with Winnipeg. So, for those who are out in Colorado, it's great to see that the Avalanche emerged as a playoff team this year, although they did give Nashville a little bit of a run for their money. They do have a really good defenseman, Samuel Girard, and I really like the way he plays defense and does score. And Gabriel Landeskog actually had one of the better goals that I thought he did perform well versus Nashville. And I would have to say that Nathan MacKinnon's probably, if not number 1, probably number 2 in the Hart Trophy race to Taylor Hall. That's just me. Just speaking in the Hart race, I would like to put this out of the way, explaining why the Devils spiked. Excuse me. The 50% shot up. Well, you also have, where I live in the state of New Jersey, you also have New York City, you have northern New Jersey, which is where you have Newark, you have Elizabeth, Edison, Bayonne. Then you have my area, right by Asbury Park, and all the way down to Brick. So a lot of people pretty excited, even in lesser New Jersey Devil territory down in South Jersey. There are Devils fans down there, and they were very excited to see how the emergence of Nico Hischier playing with Taylor Hall, Will Butcher, then the trade with Sammy Vatanen, started to gel a lot better, and seeing the team and a couple other guys I can name later, this is definitely something that the Tri-State area has been waiting to see in the past 5.5 to 6 years. So this is something that, ever since the draft lottery, has really excited the fan base and energized it. Now to number 2, the New York Rangers were actually the biggest loser in viewership. So they lost by 36% year over year. And I can explain that for you. So before Rangers management put out the season ticket holder letter in the middle of the season. They mentioned that they want to get faster, younger. They want to be able to score more goals, but also defend the lead and possibly gain the zone. So apparently, I was going to, I think it was Devils Wild that day, and I was on the train between Aberdeen and Matawan, and I had seen this thing on my smartphone via Twitter, and I was like, really? The Rangers are going to start selling off guys, and it's not even February yet? I was like, this has got to be interesting. So I had remembered one of the first few moves that the Rangers did, besides trading Rick Nash. And after the excuse me, after I got back home from the Devils Wild game, I remember the Devils trading a second rounder and former 6th round pick Yegor Rykov for Michael Grabner. Now, people must remember that when it's prior to the trade deadline, GMs who are pushing for that, those 8 playoff spots, they want to make sure that they hold their ground. And also, Grabner was an upgrade in the penalty kill. Although he scored a few points in the regular season with the Devils, he did not really come to fruition in the playoffs. However, he did prevent a lot of breakaway, goals for the most part. And now back to the Rangers. They traded away Ryan McDonough. They traded JT Miller and Rick Nash. So the Rangers basically cleaned house almost. They did get Vladislav Nemestikov back. So when I went to the Devils versus Rangers game, I think it was game 80 or game 79, it was one of the last few home games the Devils had. And I thought the Devils were going to clinch that game, but hadn't the Florida Panthers lost that game, that would have been a clincher night prior to the win versus Toronto that the Devils had. So I noticed when I sat down low and I sat upstairs, I did see that the Rangers players in the first opening minutes of the first period, they did not show a lot of heart. They did not show any compassion whatsoever. They just looked lost. They looked like they didn't know how to really play. I mean, they scored 2 goals, but that is not good enough when you're playing against a very fast, attacking, supportive, and very strong forechecking New Jersey Devils team. Especially when you have a guy like Patrick Maroon, who is strong against the boards and wins those puck battles. He may not be a fast forward, but he's a guy who happens to be a veteran who understands to win against the wall and also screen guys like a Henrik Lundqvist, or in my case, watching Patrick Maroon in the playoffs, he did screen Andrei Vasilevsky pretty well. And this is kind of a difference maker for me as a Devils fan. I would actually, if I'm Ray Shero, and I'm probably going to go into this a little bit further in another episode, but I feel Patrick Maroon in his performance when Shero traded a 3rd rounder and JD Dudek, who Dudek is probably never going to make the Devils ever. I didn't feel he was going to make it even on draft day. I happen to feel that Patrick Maroon is very likely to stay, even though if it will cost Ray Shero a little bit more than $2.2 million to about $3 million. I can see from what I was reading in New Jersey Star Ledger that Patrick Maroon really liked playing at the Prudential Center and playing for Ray Shero and John Hines, talking about how much respect he's been given, and certainly one of those veterans that I would like to see Ray Shero retain, especially if it's at the right price, even though the Devils are going to have a load of cap space come July 1st, especially with Ryan Close's $4+ million contract coming off. So now, surprisingly, the Philadelphia Flyers had a minus 25%, and that's because they went through a dry spell for most of the year. They were winning, they were losing, they were winning, they were losing. So it was like, we're going to kind of make it, we're kind of not. And then also, for those who are Philadelphia Eagles fans, then you had during the playoffs for the Philadelphia Eagles and the Super Bowl, then that's when the Flyers did lose some of their really good TV ratings. So I can see maybe a chunk of that probably because of the Philadelphia Flyers and also because of the Philadelphia 76ers. So that's another thing. And especially, the Flyers did get knocked out recently by the Penguins within, 6 games? And still it wasn't a pretty good playoff, so I could see people being frustrated and not want to really watch the Flyers. But the Flyers are going to be a better team in the next couple seasons. They're drafting really good players. It's just a matter of time before the Flyers' TV ratings go up. New Jersey gained 27+ points from last season to this year. So last year the Devils finished with 70 points in the standings, and that was good enough for them to get in the top 3 and eventually win the draft lottery at first overall, eventually picking my guy, Nico Hischier. So, but the Devils cashed it out Hischier, and they brought in Butcher. They got a couple other guys clicking, along with Jesper Bratt, who had about 35 points this season. I could definitely see with Joey Anderson and Michael McLeod and Nathan Bastian fighting it out, along with Marian Studenic, trying to get the last few spots come preseason, come the summertime. They're all going to show that they're going to want to make the team and show Ray and John Hines that they really deserve not having to play in Binghamton. So I really see this team being very hungry. I wouldn't be surprised if Ray Shero does approach John Carlson with at least $7.5 million, $8.4 million a year for at least 6, 5, 7 years tops. Would be my guess for John Carlson. However, for those who are into the International Ice Hockey Federation stuff, I do have some stuff to report from Twitter from the New Jersey Devils. If you're thinking about Nico Hischier possibly joining Team Switzerland, he's a maybe at this point, but until later on, there will be some other confirmation. However, Devils defenseman and Swiss guard, I call him, Mirko Müller, will be playing for Team Switzerland. I also have confirmation from the New Jersey Devils on their Twitter page and Matt Laughlin that Will Butcher and Keith Kincaid will be playing for Team USA in the IIHF come May 4th through the 20th in Denmark. So for those of you who have any sort of NHL network package, whether it's a sports extra package or me, I have Verizon Fios, so I get to actually have it part of what I have in my deal. So I get to watch that as part of my bundle, and of course I do get to watch KHL games now since I have the Channel 11 Sports Network. And that's actually been pretty good because there's a rumor going around saying that SKA has a player, a defenseman named Yegor Yakovlev, who played for OAR and along with Ilya Kovalchuk and Nikita Gusev, both for SKA and Team OAR that beat the Germans in the gold medal overtime winning game. And apparently, from what I've read through Pucks and Pitchforks and Yardbarker, that this guy is supposed to be a complimentary shutdown defender. And I know the Devils have another Russian defender that they had from last year who played in Binghamton named Yaroslav Dublenko, if I stand corrected. He's supposed to be another great player, and I actually liked the way he played his defensive game, and he actually looked pretty good in last year's preseason. So later on, I'm going to do a little research more on this year's NHL draft, because the draft lottery is supposed to be, I believe, the 28th, according to TSN's Bob McKenzie. So the New Jersey Devils, last time I checked, they're sitting at 17th overall. One of my buddies is talking about the Devils possibly getting Martin Kaut. I also like Ryan Merkley from Guelph for a defenseman. So I also do like Jared McIsaac, and I'm not sure if Bodie Wild is going to stick around by 17, but Ray Shero is going to have a lot of interesting conversations with Paul Castron and the rest of the scouting staff. So for me as a Devils fan and as an advocate, for the future of Devils hockey and the way the team is growing, I just see the present and the future only getting brighter. It's just a matter of time. So July 1st is free agency day, so there's a couple of dates that I'm going to have to keep up with, along with June 22nd and June 23rd is the NHL first round and the rounds 2 through 7. So stick with me, folks, and have a great day, and let's go Devils, and don't be afraid to say, I love to hockey, as quoted by Nico Hischier.